Good morning, St. Francis, and good morning, people of God. It is Tuesday, the 28th day of June, 2022. It is Tuesday of the 13th week in Ordinary Time. It is also the memorial of Saint Irenaeus of Lyon, one of the great martyrs of the early church, martyred about the 100s, 2nd century. Famed for the statement that the glory of God is a human being who is fully alive. God's glory is shown through us in what it is that we can do, what is it that we accomplish, how is it that we spread the gospel, how is it that we live what Jesus taught us to live, in being people who love beyond all cost, love without counting the cost, love with everything that we are, love that knows no boundaries, that knows no limits. That is a person who is fully alive indeed. Also a person who enjoys the good things of this earth, what this earth happens to give us, has to give us, offers to us. That is a person who is fully alive. So remember Irenaeus and honor him and his memory today. In our readings, so yesterday we kind of had a Jesus, or I kind of had a God who was trying to, I'm making my way also over to the chapel today. Today Father Hyro leaves, and so I have this mass today before Father Alex arrives this afternoon. So, so yesterday we were talking about basically God trying to get Israel to come back, to remember who Israel was, and how Israel is God's cherished possession, and so it should not fall away into other habits and other things that will make it less than that. However, today God seems to have had enough, and so God is very angry, and basically I said, because you are not going to listen to anything I have to say, I'm going to deal with you in my own way. And that whole understanding of one meeting one's maker when one dies or whatever it is actually stems from the book of Amos, the prophet Amos. That's where we are today, in which the last line is for Israel to prepare to meet its God, because it seems to have forgotten everything that God is, and now God is going to come. It seems with a little bit of vengeance to kind of correct everything that Israel has done wrong. Again, the forcefulness with which Amos proclaims and prophesizes is to awaken Israel, to, what it has lost, what it has forgotten, what it indeed does need to remember. It is not about a God who just delights in punishing, or a God who is vindictive, or a God who is vengeful against God's own people. But God does say through Amos in this reading, remember, I made you my own people. You are mine. You are my cherished possession. There we go. And you've just flaunted that. You've just thrown it to the side. You don't really care. And so now you're going to have to face the consequences because of that. Because indeed, for us always to remember is that our God is a jealous God. Our God is a God basically who likes what our God has done, and our God likes whom our God has claimed as God's own. And because of that, we need to understand that kind of connectedness, and not basically toss it aside or make it meaningless or not care about it in our lives. So God comes, to have Israel kind of face itself, not to destroy Israel, not to wipe away Israel, not to replace Israel, but the sense in which Israel has to awaken to its call as its chosen people, as those who give witness to the only God who is alive and at work in this world. That manifestation of God's power, again, is kind of echoed in Matthew's Gospel today, where Jesus, again, calms the storm. So Matthew's version of it, a storm, they're all out on a boat, the storm comes up in the Sea of Galilee, everyone's frightened, and then Jesus says, stop it, be quiet, wind, and it stops. And there is amazement. Is there faith? I don't know. It doesn't say, but it says there's amazement. And again, does amazement lead to faith? Sometimes not. So the question is always, again, recognizing, who this God is, who can help us, who this God is, who comes to our aid, who this God is, again, who values us as this cherished possession, values us more, perhaps, than we value at times our relationship with God. And because God values us more, then all things are possible, that anything can be done. And it is not about punishments and penances, and contritions and sorrows and pains and all those other kinds of wonderful things that we as human beings like to throw upon God. Is about just simply remembering who and what God is, and the wonderful things that God can do for us. For us to give witness to that in this world manifests our great responsibility as believers in this world. And may the Lord give you his peace.